Everybody needs good neighbours with a little understanding. You can find the perfect blend. Neighbours should be there for one another. That's when good neighbours become good friends.
You're not doing a bad job there, Danny. Oh, was there room at the inn?
Huh? Oh, plenty. In fact, I think we're going to be the only ones staying there. What's been happening here?
Welfare's going to come and cart Mrs. Forbes away to an old people's home. That's what's happening.
You mean they're going to make her go there?
Well, that's what it sounded like to me.
All the lass from welfare said was that there was a room available if she wanted it, that's all.
Well, we can't let them take her away. We can't let them do it.
Mrs. Forbes isn't ready for one of those old folks' homes. Welfare's got it wrong. You've got to speak to them, Dad.
Nobody ever made me do anything I didn't want to do. You ought to know that by now.
Could have at least discussed it with us, Mrs. Forbes.
What is there to discuss? Frankly, I don't think it's any of your business. How are you going with those spuds?
Oh, I needed that.
Had a heavy day by the sound of it.
Heavy? Oh, that's putting it mildly. I must have been mad when I told Dad I'd help him out. I should have known it'd been like this.
No comment there.
Oh, he's impossible, Paul. He expects me to have some sort of a sixth sense about how things should be done. I mean, he never stops laying down the law. That's his trouble. Sorry, I should have warned you that I dropped by to give you an ear bashing. I just wanted to get it off my chest before I went home.
I figured as much.
It's just that Mum's got enough on her mind at the moment. She doesn't need me coming home whinging about how much of a cow Dad's been all day. Oh, I better be going. Thanks for the beer, mate.
No worries. See ya.
I'm home, Mum.
Hello, darling. Dare I ask you how your day went?
It could have been worse. Where do you think you're off to?
Nick asked me out to dinner. Thought it might do me good to get out of the house. There is the remains of last night's casserole for you, okay?
Oh, great. Thanks very much.
You're not going out tonight, are you? I mean, someone really should be here in case Jim phones.
I'm getting a bit tired of people making assumptions about me, Mum.
Shane, what's wrong?
I would have thought that was obvious, Mum. I mean, I'm not trying to moralise or anything, but don't you think it's a bit soon for you to be seeing other men?
I'm not seeing anyone. I'm just having dinner with an old friend.
Yeah, fish and chips at the Greasy Spoon by the looks of things.
You really had a bad day, haven't you?
It's got nothing to do with it.
Why don't you get yourself beer and put your feet up? And don't worry about Nick. He knows how to behave himself.
So, there I was, 20, and desperate to see the world, and everyone on my back to settle down, find a good career, think of the future. So I took off. It was the only alternative.
I've never been outside Ramsay Street.
That's a slight exaggeration, Paul.
I was speaking metaphorically, Jules. Go
Well,
on.
it just seemed to me that the last thing a bloke my age needed to worry about was what was going to happen in 10, 20, 30 years' time.
Yes. A lot of people feel like that and generally amount to nothing.
All it takes is a bit of good management. And a lot of luck.
Well, life's a gamble anyway, isn't it?
All I know is that if I'd done what my dad said, I'd never lived in places like Rome or Singapore or seen the Northern Lights, tasted wine in French vineyards.
Eh? Well, where would you have been?
Nice house in the suburbs. 2.2 kids, school fees, peak hour traffic. Anyway, I mustn't keep a lady waiting. That's one piece of good advice my father did give me. Night, beautiful.
Good night.
Don't study too hard.
Yeah, bye, Nick.
I wouldn't take him too seriously if I were you.
Yeah, but you're not me, are you?
Will they let me in?
Will they ever? I'd forgotten how well you scrubbed up.
I suppose That's a compliment.
Ready to go?
I certainly am. Shane, I'm leaving now. Oh, he must have dropped off to sleep. I think Mac's working pretty hard today.
I can imagine. Ma'am, your carriage awaits. And the pork Dijonais. Thanks. Do you remember that time we all took a train up the coast for the weekend?
I remember how much trouble I had with my parents, convincing them that it was an all-girls weekend. I remember that.
And Eddie Reed almost got himself arrested.
In that milk bar. How was it again?
Well, he went in with this polo neck sweater right up to here and said, "Fish and chips for 7 on the double." And the local policeman happened to be in there.
That's right. He thought he was an escaped criminal or something.
I wonder what happened to Eddie.
I've lost touch with most of the old crowd. He'll be probably married with 4 or 5 kids. You're the only one, as far as I know, who never settled down.
Uh-huh. That's because I was the only one who ever had any sense. Thank you. It's the good life.
I wish Max could express himself. He thinks that a man should hide his feelings, as if showing them would be weak or vulnerable.
That's the way blokes of our generation were brought up.
Yes, but you're not like this. Jim's not.
Well, some of us get over our upbringing better than others.
That's right. Because you can see the need to change. Max can't. Who am I to criticize? I'm hardly a perfect wife.
You know, I'm beginning to think that Max doesn't deserve you. You should have married me when you had the chance.
Now you're being ridiculous.
And as I remember, those are the exact words you uttered when I asked you to be my wife.
Nick Burman, you didn't.
Oh, charming, that is. One time in my life I proposed something decent to a girl and she doesn't even remember.
If you're talking about the time when you went down on your knees and crawled across the room...
Begging you to marry me.
You were as drunk as a lord.
Well, I prefer to think of it as being made bold by alcohol. One time in my life, I wanted to be taken seriously.
Stop kidding me, Nick.
But I wasn't kidding you. I thought you knew that.
Nick, I've just separated from my husband. It hurts me a lot. This is not the time to be telling me this.
Maria, I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter. Well, look, would you mind if we give the dancing a miss? I'd like to go home.
Oh, thank you. It's hard to know what to do for the best, isn't it?
Well, I'll have a look at that machinery in the morning, see what it's worth. It's got to be worth more than this local dealer's offering.
Nasty little man. Fancy trying to diddle an old lady like that. Some people ought to be shot.
I wouldn't say that too loudly. If Mrs. Forbes is listening, she might just try it.
She's a spirited old bird. Do you think there's any chance of our getting home tomorrow, Jim?
I'd say so. Hopefully with Scott in tow.
Good to have your son back, isn't it? Only wish we could ring Maria and tell her that we're bringing Danny back with us. Do you think that's possible?
Not while he thinks Max is at home waiting for him.
Why don't we have just a cup of coffee and forget about it, Nick? Hi, Shane. Any news of Danny?
No. Enjoy your evening?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Did Nick let you drive his car?
That's not funny, Shane.
No. No, it isn't, is it?
Think I should be going.
I apologize for my son's manners.
It's understandable, I suppose. Good night, Cinderella.
Good night. Would you care to tell me what that was all about? Look, I won't have you being rude to people I've invited to the house. Whatever you think of them.
Okay, so I was a bit off.
A bit? Have I ever been deliberately rude to one of your friends? Have I?
No.
And have I tried to tell you who you can and who you can't go out with? I'd respect your freedom to choose. I'd appreciate if you do the same thing to me. All right?
Paul? You've been under my feet all morning, young man.
I'm just trying to fix myself something to eat. Do you mind?
Yes, I do mind. You're supposed to be at uni.
For the 500th time, Julie, I just didn't feel like going in today. Anyway, what are you doing here?
I haven't had the day off officially. Paul, you can't afford to miss any more lectures at the moment. You told me that yourself.
I'll borrow somebody's notes, all right?
What's happening to you? You've always been so conscientious about your studies.
Look, everyone is entitled to a day off now and then. Taking sick is an Australian institution. Didn't you know that?
You're just being plain irresponsible. I've got half a mind to ring Dad and let him talk to you.
Half a mind being the operative term. Listen, don't you think Dad's got enough on his plate at the moment?
Right. That's it. I'm going to talk to Dad about you. As soon as he walks in that door, I'm going to talk to him, and that's a promise.
Julie, why don't you just mind your own business for a change?
You are my business. Paul?
Hey, you didn't tell me Mrs. Daniels was an artist. She's outside doing a drawing of the house so I can hang it in my room at that place. I asked her to make it look as though it'd just been painted. Oh, you were going to tell me what you thought the machinery and such was worth.
Oh, yes. Well, I had a look around. I'd say about $2,000.
I can't believe it. You know what Fletcher said, 400.
Well, I reckon it'd be worth more in the city.
Oh, I'd be happy with 2,000.
I'll have a word with Fletcher.
I can't ask you to do that.
You didn't ask, I offered. Besides, it would give me pleasure to do battle with the likes of him, believe me.
Oh, well, sure, you don't mind.
I don't mind. Where do I find him?
He's in the main street, next to the picture show.
Right, this won't be long.
How you going, Danny?
He's a fine man, that Mr. Robinson. Where's Scott?
Packing his things. He's decided to go home.
And what about you?
I want to stay here. I like it on this farm.
But you can't, you know that. Now, Mrs. Daniels was telling me about your mother. She seems a good sort. Don't you miss her?
Yeah. Mum's all right.
So what have you got against going home to her?
That fool she's married to.
Don't you dare speak about your father like that. I don't care what you think.
I prefer not to think of him.
Now, you listen to me, Danny. You've got a family. Mother, father, brother. And speaking as somebody who's got none of those things, don't knock it.
Well, maybe I could get a job in town and we could share a place. That way you wouldn't have to go to that home.
Oh, now you're talking stupid. You're a good lad, Danny. I know you mean well. I feel I owe you a favour. The best thing I can do for you is to talk you into going home.
Oh, what? I mean, what the hell do you call that thing?
It's all right. Look, remember, I've never used one of these things before.
It's hopeless. I'll have to do it myself now.
Look, Dad, I told you yesterday, I'm doing my best.
Well, it just ain't good enough, son. Come here. Come here. See what you can do with the fittings on the shaft. And for God's sake, don't drop them.
I just keep getting the feeling I'm missing out on something. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think so, but I've never really experienced the feeling. If I've ever wanted to do something, I've usually just gone out and done it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You just get out there and you do it. You don't sit back and wait for life to come to you. But that's what I've been doing.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. There's usually plenty happening on campus.
I'd hardly call Uni Society representative of the world at large.
Just be patient, Paul. You've only got a few more years to go.
And the world as we know it could be gone in 2 years. Who can afford to be patient?
Sit down and drink your coffee.
Look, I could be dead in 2 years and I wouldn't have seen anything.
If you were dead, you wouldn't mind.
Yes, but do you see what I'm getting at?
I can see what Nick's getting at.
Yeah, I'm starting to think what he says is making a lot of sense. You see, I'm thinking seriously of leaving uni, Daff.
So Des was telling me. Leaving uni and doing what?
I don't know. Getting a job, saving some money, travelling, or getting a job that takes me travelling. It doesn't really matter much, what? As long as I get freedom and new experiences.
Do you want my advice?
Yeah, of course.
First complete your degree, then head off in search of adventure if that's what you still want to do.
You're the last one I expected to say that.
I'm speaking from experience, Paul. It's much better to finish something that you've started than to try and pick it up later on.
Yes, but I'm not even certain I want to be an engineer. That was expected of me, sure, but is it what I really want?
You're off on a tangent, Paul. Look, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but please let me advise.
Yeah, but your philosophies might not necessarily be right for me.
True, but neither are Nick's.
Look, let me explain it to you. At the moment, I feel like one of those hamsters in a treadmill, you know? Just going round and round and round and never getting anywhere and not enjoying it either.
I know.
The road's just too narrow. I can't go on living this way. I've got to get out.
What the hell do you think you're doing? I mean, just what the hell do you think you're doing?
Oh, I'm just mucking around here, Dad, having a really great time. Thought I'd drop that on purpose just so you'd knock your head on the basin.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And what about this mess? What am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to clean it up, eh?
Clean it up, I suppose. And then I suggest you get on the phone and find yourself a new assistant.
Oh, yeah, that'd be right. Walk out and leave a man in his hour of need.
You got it in one, Dad. You and your business can go down the drain as far as I'm concerned, if you'll pardon the pun.
Hey! How the hell am I supposed to get out?
What?
Look.
Thanks for the picture, Mrs. Daniels. Be nice to remember the old place the way it was. I'd like to give you this.
Oh, what can I say? It's lovely. Thank you.
Glad you like it. Wedding present.
Don't say a word. I'm only doing this because that's what Mrs. Forbes wanted.
Well, we'll be seeing you again, Mrs. Forbes. And whatever miracle you performed there, thank you.
No, think nothing of it. Thanks for all you done, Jim. Get that money off Fletcher's made a big difference.
That was no trouble at all. We better get a move on.
Goodbye. And thanks for everything.
Well, thank heaven I'm finally getting you two rascals off my hands.
Can we write to you?
Wouldn't have thought either of you could write.
Maybe we could even come and visit you one day.
You drop in whenever you like, Danny. I'd enjoy that. Oh, well, go on, get in the car, keeping everybody waiting like that.